62 views or 62 false statements. Here is a brief description of 62 erroneous views by Tathagata Sakyamuni written in the Sutta Brahmajala. 62 of these views are divided into two groups. The first group is a view that stems from past experiences that reflect meditation on jhana and from certain ascetic or Brahman thinking. In the first group, that is different is in how that view is produced. Some of his views are similar. It consists of 18 views, including 5 sets of views. The second group is a view that springs from thoughts about the future, consisting of 44 views, including 5 sets of eyes. The first group, the 5 first objects of view, consists of the same 4 views, that Atta or himself and the universe are eternal, as follows. First, there was a certain Patapa or Brahman by meditating capable of remembering one birth to hundreds of thousands of past births, claiming that Atta or himself and the universe were eternal. Secondly, there is a certain contemplative or Brahman by meditating able to remember not only hundreds of thousands of past births, but until the universe crumbles and reforms 10 times, also stating that self and the universe are eternal.
Third, there is a certain contemplative and Brahman by meditating able to remember the previous births up to 40 times that the universe is destroyed and reshaped, stating also that self and the universe is eternal.
Fourth, there is a certain contemplative and Brahman who bases thinking and logic also claim that the self and universe is eternal. The first group, 5 the second object of view, consisting of 4 views, suggests that Atta or himself existed eternal and some immortality. It's a partial eternity, if you will. This first view of partial eternity may be related as follows. There is a being from the Apasara realm who died and was born in the empty Brahma palace. Is nature Mahabrahma? These creatures live in these realms long enough to be bored, and with too long living alone in that realm, a desire arises that another creature may come and live with it in the Mahabrahma realm. And then there are other beings due to their ages or good karma's reward in the Apasara realm gone. They die and are born in the empty realm of Mahabrahma. The first creature born in this world of Mahabrahma thought, "You came after me, means I am the creator, and you are the one I created." Creatures born later in the natural world died first, born in the human realm because of the lack of his virtue. Whereas the first Mahabrahma being born does not die because of an extraordinary virtue. The creature that died first and was born as a human meditates and achieves the power of jhana. He thought that the creature and nature of the first Mahabrahma was said to be eternal, and we are imperfect human beings. This second view of partial eternity is the existence of these mythical beings of gods, because of their laughter, of happiness, that their inmost parts are stained with pleasure, frolic, their attention fades, therefore they die and are born human.
They meditated, they could remember once their last life as gods. They saw that the gods whose minds were not stained with pleasure, they were alive and eternal. We are as humans, filthy, impermanent inside.
This third view of a partial eternity is that of gods littered with envious minds, broken minds, then dead and reborn as human beings, meditating, reaching a strong concentration and being able to remember one last day of his life as gods. They saw that gods whose mind was not stained with envy, whose mind was not corrupted was eternal, we humans who were filthy with envy and permanent. A fourth view of this partial eternity, there is a certain contemplative or Brahman whose reasoning and logic state that some are eternal and some are impermanent. Immortality is whatever is called the 5 senses, whereas the mind or consciousness, which is called Atta or self, are eternal. A mistaken view like this is a lot to live up to in today's society. The first group, 5 third objects of view, are made up of 4 different views of the infinite and infinite universe, as follows. First, there was a certain Patapa or Brahmin who was meditating, seeing that the universe had its limits, was bounded by a circle.
Second, there is a particular hermit or Brahmin who meditates, seeing that the universe is infinite, unbounded.
Third, there is a particular contemplative or Brahmin who meditates, seeing that this world is limited up and down, as when seated the lower one is the ground, and the top also has its limits, but the sides, which are the sides, the left and back, the left and right are unlimited. Fourth, a certain contemplator or Brahmin used his mind and logic to deny the 3 views about the limits of the universe. He asserted that the universe is not infinite and is not infinite. The great teacher Tathagata, when she got the 10 speculative questions discussed at that time, including the universe, it was finite or infinite, she answered that she was not discussing those things. The first group, 5 fourth points of view of the same expressions, are vague, evading, and writhing like eels of some contemplatives or Brahmins when asked about this or that matter, as follows. First, there was an ascetic or Brahmin who did not know whether something was good or bad, for fear of lying, so when asked about the matter and that, he answered the question of avoidance, writhing like eels. Second, there was an ascetic or Brahmin who did not know whether a thing was good or bad, when asked about the matter and that, because he had lust, there was hate or rejection that caused grasping, and because he was afraid of grasping, so when asked the answer was an avoidance statement. Third, there is an ascetic or Brahmin who does not know whether a thing is good or bad, so when asked about it or that, for fear of being unable to answer, a fear of debate, of suffering, then is an avoidance statement. Fourth, there was an ignorant Patapa or Brahmin, so when asked about the matter or that, he gave the answer in the form of an ethereal, quivering, ethereal statement. The first group, 5 fifth objects of view, consisting of the same 2 views of the appearance of Atta or himself and the unprovoked universe, arose spontaneously as follows. First, there are certain gods that are called without perception, the inner being dormant. As soon as a perception arises in them, the gods fall from that realm, the nature of a Senusada, and be born in the human realm. Then meditate and reflect on one previous life. He felt that there was nothing once because his mind was not active. That's why he thought that the self and the universe came about by chance, without cause and condition, spontaneously.
Second, there was a certain hermit or Brahmin who used logic, who used reason. He developed his own opinion and claimed that the self and the universe came about by chance, without cause and condition, spontaneously. The second group, which is a view that springs from thoughts about the future, consisting of 44 views, were divided in 5 sets of views.
The second group, 5 first objects of view, stating that, after the death of Atta or self, it remained eternal, healthy, and conscious, covering 16 different views as follows.
First, there were some ascetics and Brahmins who held the view that after death, Atta or self remained eternal, healthy, sober, and material.
Second, some contemplatives and Brahmins had the same view as the first, but Atta or the self were unmaterial. Then the next views are those. Third, the self is material and devoid of matter.
Fourth, the self is immaterial and not lacking. Fifth, the self is limited. Sixth, the self is infinite. Seventh, the self is limited and infinite. The eighth is infinite and not without limit. Ninth, that self has a uniform consciousness or perception. 10th, the self has different perceptions. 11th, the self has limited perception. 12th, such self has unlimited perception.
Thirdly, there are some contemplations or Brahmins that when meditating on jhana get to see life in the Brahma realm filled with happiness, so they view that after death, self remains eternal, healthy, sober, and perfectly happy. 14th, there are some contemplations or Brahmins who when meditating reach jhana, able to see those who are born in the underworld, not see life in the realm of happiness, take the view that after death, self remains eternal, healthy, fully subject to suffering. 5th, there are some contemplations or Brahmins which when meditating reach jhana, can see to refer to those born as humans, the view that after death, self remains eternal, healthy, conscious, experiencing happiness and suffering. 16th, there are some contemplations or Brahmins who when meditating reach jhana, can see the realm of the gods, and view that after death, self remains eternal, healthy, unhappy and not unhappy, the inner balanced.
The second group, the 5 second points of view, stating that, after the death of Atta or self, there remains eternal, healthy, without consciousness or without perception, divided into 8 different views, as follows.
First, some contemplatives and Brahmins held that after death, Atta or self remained healthy, unconscious, and material. Second, like the first one, the self is immaterial. Third, the self is material and not material. Fourth, the self is immaterial and not lacking. Fifth, the self is limited. Sixth, the self is infinite. Seventh, the self is limited and infinite. The eighth is infinite and not without limits.
The second group, the 5 third points of view, stating that, after the death of Atta or himself remained eternal, healthy, unconscious and not unconscious, divided into 8 different views, as follows.
First, there were some contemplations and Brahmins who held the view that after Atta's death or self survived, eternal, healthy, unconscious and not without consciousness, but material. Second, as did the first, the self is immaterial. Third, the self is material and not material. Fourth, the self is immaterial and not lacking. Fifth, the self is limited. Sixth, the self is infinite. Seventh, the self is limited and infinite. The eighth is infinite and not without limits. The second group, the fourth 5 objects of view, speaking of the destruction, and absence of beings, are divided into 7 different views, as follows.
First, there is a certain hermit, or Brahmin who doesn't get meditation. The view that this body consisting of 4 khandha was Atta or self, in death, destroyed, and so did self, no new birth.
Second, there was a certain hermit or Brahmin meditated, and thought that either self or Atta existed, but if Atta was wrong with the physical body. Atta is said to be a deified Atta referred to as the mind, the possession of the body and the eating of material as well, and after his death this Atta ceased, there was no new birth. Third, there was a certain hermit or Brahmin meditating, could see the previous experience, that either self or Atta was not completely destroyed. There are other Atta created by the mind, material, having senses like the original body. After Atta's death, this was gone.
Fourth, there is a particular hermit or Brahmin, which may bring the meditation experience to the level of Akasankanayatana.
The space strip, the endless space dock, which can give rise to another view, a new view, such an experience called Atta, after the death of the Atta is gone. Fifth, a certain hermit or Brahmin had a meditation experience reaching the Vijnanakayana level, the base of infinite consciousness. It was thought to be Atta, after the death of the Atta was gone. Sixth, a certain hermit or Brahmin had a meditation experience reaching the level of Akasankanayatana, reaching the bottom of the void, creating a perception that it was Atta, after the death of the Atta was gone. 7. There is a certain contemplative or Brahmin having a meditation experience reaching the level of the Luasanjana Sanyutana. Reaching the base level was not perception and not without perception, and it was thought to be Atta, after the death of the Atta was gone. The second group, 5 fifth objects of view, states that Nibbana is here and now, divided into 5 different views, as follows. First, there are certain contemplatives or Brahmins, claiming and embracing the view that for today's living creatures who have 5 senses, can enjoy the pleasure of the senses, then it is the time to achieve the highest Nibbana here and now. This view comes from a lot of people. Second, there are certain contemplatives or Brahmins who declare the pleasure of the senses to be impermanent, subject to change, agonizing. And those with the power of meditation enter and dwell in the first jhana, saying that it is time to achieve the highest Nibbana here and now. Third, there are certain contemplations or Brahmins that state that when with the power of meditation enter and reside in the first jhana, the condition is considered crude. But when by the power of meditation, self has entered and dwelt in the second jhana, then it is the time to attain the highest Nibbana here and now. Fourth, there are certain contemplations or Brahmins that state that when with the power of meditation comes in and dwells in the second jhana, the condition is considered crude.
But when by the power of meditation, self has entered and dwelt in the third jhana, then it is the time to attain the highest Nibbana here and now.
Fifth, there are certain contemplations or Brahmins that state that when with the power of meditation comes in and dwells in the third jhana, the condition is considered crude.
But when by the power of meditation, self has entered and dwelt in the fourth jhana, then it is the time to attain the highest Nibbana here and now.
So a brief description of 62 of those erroneous views is given. All such views are based on a feeling. Feeling arises because of repeated contacts through the 6 fundamentals of the senses and the mind.
Feelings of conditioning addiction. Addiction conditions attachment. Grasping conditions condition existence. Existence conditions birth. Birth conditions aging and death, sorrow, lamentation, sadness, and distress. If a person has just one of those 62 views, then he cannot be released from repeated birth and death. The roots remain in the samsara vortex, still suffering.
Now is the time to end this video. May it be useful. I'll see you in another video on the channel, which is tried to contain true, good, and interesting knowledge.
Or perhaps add some consolation, with hope other than worthwhile, hopefully not boring to watch. You can find this channel on YouTube with a name, Hermanu Hadi. To those of you who have watched this video, thank you very much. May you be healthy, happy, charitable, and passionate about living with a peaceful heart. Bye-bye.